LeBron James and Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, James Harden and Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Khris Middleton. One of these NBA duos does not belong, and that is of course Giannis and Khris Middleton. I say this because every single one of the top players in the NBA has an elite tier second option on their team, except for Giannis. But up until this season, that hasn't mattered too much. Last year, the Bucks finished as the first seed in the Eastern Conference, but then they were bounced in the playoffs by the Toronto Raptors, and that's when the potential problems started arising. Because before the 2020 NBA season began, Giannis refused to publicly commit long-term to the Milwaukee Bucks and instead said this, quote, "I want the Bucks to build a winning culture. So far, we have been doing great, and if this lasts, there's no other place I want to be. But if we're underperforming in the NBA next year, deciding whether to sign becomes a lot more difficult." Now already, that quote alone has scared a lot of Bucks fans, and now because of certain circumstances we're about to get into, this quote could also be telling for Bucks fans. Because Giannis has also said, quote, "My goal is going to stay the same. It's get better, take it day by day, step by step, and the ultimate goal is to win a championship. As long as we are all on the same page and we are all focused on that goal, why not play for the Bucks for 20 years? But we got to have the same goal. We got to have the same principles. We got to focus on winning a championship." So with that said, let me introduce you to the recent words of Khris Middleton, the number 2 option on the Milwaukee Bucks roster, who has stated that he has not touched a basketball for 2 to 3 months. The second best player on the Bucks has said himself that he has not touched a basketball for 3 months. Middleton has gone on to say, quote, "Since the practice facility is closed down, I don't have any access to a basketball goal unless I go to one of my neighbor's house to shoot outside. It's really no basketball for me." It's really no basketball for me? Is this guy aware that he is the second best player on the current best team in the Eastern Conference? Is this guy also unaware of the words of Giannis himself, who again said, "We got to have the same goal, we got to have the same principles, we got to focus on winning a championship"? Bucks fans, if I were you, I would be afraid, because if I'm Giannis and I'm looking at Khris Middleton, the only other all-star on this roster, and I'm seeing that not only is he not working as hard as me, but he has gone as far as not touching a basketball for 3 months, well, I've got to believe that maybe the players around me are not as serious as I am about winning, and I've also got to think that there may be a better place for me. Especially when you consider that the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the other top title contenders for the 2020 season, have been holding private workouts since May. Now guys, we have seen this before. Recently, we've seen it with Kevin Durant, we've seen it with Paul George, we've seen it with Anthony Davis, we've seen superstar players not willing to commit to their franchise, and then eventually they either leave in free agency or they demand a trade. And to be honest, it does seem like Giannis does want to stay in Milwaukee, but he also wants to win a championship, which means he needs the right roster around him. And so far in the 2020 season, Khris Middleton has been one of the better second options in the NBA. He is currently one of the more efficient scorers in the league and is averaging 21.1 points per game and shooting nearly 42% from 3. He also made his second straight All-Star game this season and had a breakout game on January 29th when, against the Washington Wizards with Giannis injured, Middleton scored a career-high 51 points. This seemed great not only for the Milwaukee Bucks for this season, but for the future. If Khris Middleton is able to become one of those elite tier second players, well, then the odds that Giannis stays increase dramatically. And in the 2018 playoffs, it did seem like Middleton was about to make that leap, because facing off against the Boston Celtics in the first round, yes, the Bucks would lose to the Celtics in 7 games, but Khris Middleton was spectacular. For the series, he would average 24.7 points, 5.1 rebounds, and 3.1 assists, and shot about 60% from the field. Incredible numbers for a second option. He also was consistently clutch against the Celtics.
Here's Antetokounmpo, looking, Middleton!
Khris Middleton! I mean, this is from the scorer's table.
Yeah, it's gone from his hand before the light comes on.
And overall, just in this series against the Celtics, Khris Middleton was reliable. However, in 2018, the Bucks were not expected to make the finals. The 2019 playoffs were a different story, and with that pressure on him, playing on a team that was expected to make the NBA finals, Khris Middleton choked. Overall, in the 2019 playoffs, Middleton would average just 16.9 points per game on 42% shooting, a noticeable drop from his regular season numbers, and we're not done yet, because in the Eastern Conference Finals, after the Bucks won their first 2 games against the Raptors, a finals matchup with Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors seemed all but certain. Unfortunately though, for Milwaukee, things would fall apart and Khris Middleton shouldered a fair amount of the blame, as in games 3 to 6, Middleton would shoot just 39.6% from the field, averaged just 14.8 points per game, and overall was clearly not the type of second option that Giannis needs in order to win a championship. To pile things on here, Khris Middleton would actually guarantee a win to the media in game 4, and the Bucks would go on to lose that game, and then in game 5, Middleton would only score 6 points, one of the worst performances of his entire career. And taking a look at how Khris Middleton compares to the second option on every championship team from the past 10 years only adds more fuel to the debate as to whether or not Khris can be the second option Giannis needs. Because when compared to the other players on this list, Khris Middleton ranks dead last in PER and field goal percentage and ranks third to last in points per game. And of course here we are using Khris Middleton's 2019 playoff stats that might not even be matched if he has not touched a basketball in 3 months. And so guys, that is where we now stand, because in the famous words of Scottie Pippen, it don't mean a thing without a ring, as the 73-win Golden State Warriors certainly remember. As for the Milwaukee Bucks, they currently are 53-12 this season and have the best record in basketball, but as Giannis has made it clear, this team needs to have playoff success in order for him to re-sign long-term. Giannis is a once-in-a-generation type player, and he cannot let his talents go to waste. He is going to want to compete for championships, he is going to want to win championships, he is going to want to build his legacy. And if I'm being honest, already going into this season, it seemed like Khris Middleton was already underqualified to be the second best player on a team that involved Giannis. Now, with the news that Khris Middleton is not taking a championship seriously enough to touch a basketball in the last 2 to 3 months, well, you have to imagine that if the Milwaukee Bucks fall in the playoffs, if Khris Middleton struggles like he did last season, Giannis is going to take these things into serious consideration. He's going to look over at the second best player on the Bucks roster and really question, is this a guy I can win a championship with? And if I were Giannis, if I was an NBA superstar, and if I heard that the second best player on my team was not practicing for the last 3 months, well, I think it goes without saying that there would be a real possibility that I would want to leave and join a roster where everyone takes winning as seriously as me. That's just my opinion though, guys. I'm curious as to what you think about this, so comment down below. Do you think this is serious? Do you think Khris Middleton is going to cost the Bucks a chance at a title? And if the Bucks do lose in the playoffs and if Giannis leaves, where do you think he'll end up? Do you think he'll end up on the Warriors, the Miami Heat? The possibilities of where Giannis might go are very, very intriguing. This is the MVP of the league we're talking about. I cannot wait to see what happens. With that said though, thank you guys for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Also, make sure to turn post notifications on so you don't miss a video. If you're already subscribed, thank you guys so much for supporting. You're awesome. We all know it. And as always, have an awesome day, guys, and cue that music. By the way, if you're still here while the music is cued, here are 2 videos I think you are going to love watching. All you have to do is just click on either one of them on the screen right here. And other than that, guys, again, have a great day and peace.